And so, what was I saying? Lucius pretty much evolved beyond just a D&D character I played as and more into his own character. And I started kind of like creating a narrative around him based on the lip syncing and shit. Lip syncing and like dance videos, which seems very fucking stupid out of context, but trust me, it was actually fun to do at the time. Um, and then the biggest change is I ended up following a particularly popular person on TikTok called Captain Marlowe. He was one of the big name, quote unquote, captain personas in the Pirate Talk sphere. Went ahead and joined his Discord, which was like the first actual Discord community I was ever a part of. Because most of the time I just used Discord for like uh, once during COVID when we were quote unquote self isolating and all of that horseshit. You know, the Kung Flu pandemic, which I already have a lot of feelings and emotions about, but I don't really give a shit. Um, yeah, like the the weekly game group, we decided to use Discord to kind of play the game for a couple of sessions instead of in person because we had to be good little noodles, and you're not allowed within arm's length of another human being, or you're gonna get a disease that has no side effects. Eat my dick. But that's neither here nor there. And so this was the first actual Discord community I joined. And I got to meet a whole bunch of very interesting characters. And come to find out that on this Discord server, they had a roleplay section where it was like the old school forums of yesteryear of play by post role playing, where there is no dice, there's no actual hard mechanics. It's just you make a post and say, this is what my character would do in this situation, or this is what my character says at this point in time. And yes, I'm gonna fast forward through this to continue the quest, but I just kind of want to keep rambling because why not? That's the entire point of this video. Um, and so I was like, fuck it. I'm kind of role playing as this character that I'm dressing up as on the internet. And might as, because I've already kind of started building a narrative with him, might as well put that narrative to some semblance of a use. And let's just say that the people that I had met there, I started doing more collaborations with them on TikTok because, of course, everybody in the Discord, well, most of them at least, had a TikTok account. And it was pretty much just a forum of failed theater kids that had a hobby no one really gave a fuck about. And this is when I met some of my. It's funny thinking back on these days because this was, like I said, this is 2002. And yeah, I joined this community and I added because it was Pirate Talk, the role play character that you had. It didn't need to be a pirate, but everybody was a pirate. Like, come on. And so I added pirate aspects to Lucius's story and pretty much mixed my pirate cosplay with the Plague Doctor mask, and pretty much he evolved into a more recent rendition of the character. And it was at this time that I met some of the people that would become my like best friends and people like dudes that I would hang out with in the meat space in real life. Fast forward to, I think I was in Marlowe's server for like, I don't know, it wasn't even that long. It was maybe 6 months before I got kicked out. Because for those of you that don't know, uh, I used to be a crippling alcoholic. I used to have a bad drinking problem. And it was affecting a lot of aspects of my life. And probably still is to this day. But that's neither here nor there. Pretty much I would just, almost every night, not every night, but every night that I could, I would just get blackout drunk and piss people off. Because that was fun to me. That was my free therapy. Because we were all dogging this mental illness the way God intended. And of course, that ended up into a falling out. I got kicked out of the server, which at the time I didn't really give a fuck, just because there was so much drama and bullshit that I didn't want to deal with. I was pretty much just done with these people. I had joined other communities that were better people in the long run. But I still kept in contact with a couple of people from that server. At least the ones that didn't believe rumors and lies about myself. And when you're kicked and blocked by everybody, you're no longer allowed to speak your piece. You're not allowed to actually voice your opinion. So anybody could say anything about you, and it's treated as fact. Because nobody has critical thinking skills on the internet. But I kept in contact with a couple of people, especially when one of my friends at the time was also shortly booted off of Marlowe's server. I'm not going to go ahead and say why, just because I'm not here to rumor mill, rumor mod. And also because I don't care, because I no longer associate with this person. Maybe I will discuss it at a later time. But pretty much, when my friend, which for the sake of the story, let's call Iris. Actually, no,
What is it, citizen?
there was somebody named Iris in that server, so I can't use that. Fucking Lavender.
Speak.
That works. So Lavender got kicked off, and it was apparently a huge ordeal. And guess what it was over? It was over the play-by-post fucking roleplay nonsense. Because everybody wanted to be the main character. Nobody wanted to create a collaborative storytelling. Which is what happens when it comes to roleplay servers. Nobody wants to be the supporting cast. Everybody wants to be the main character. Because none of these fuckers, especially when some of them come from the Dungeons and Dragons sphere, don't even play the damn game and don't realize that everybody is on the same level and everybody gets their own time to shine. So pass the torch off to other people and shut the fuck up. But that doesn't happen. But apparently, a discussion of I don't like where the story thread is going. Can we do something else with it? Can we shift the narrative to something a little bit more tasteful? And that pissed off a couple of the people in the roleplay sphere because everything is about me. How dare you shoot down my ideas? And one thing led to another, and the small group of friends that I was still in contact with was reduced to 4 because they brought me back in because they realized that I wasn't actually a bad guy. I might have a drinking problem, but the dude that I kept pissing off all the time was the direct cause of this person being to Lavender being ostracized and kicked out. So it was just the 4 of us, and that was perfectly cool. We became very close friends at the time. It was me. Um, I'm actually still friends with this person, but I'm going to go ahead and give her a fake name anyway. Emma. Then there's Louise and Lavender. It was the four of us. And we actually kind of continued the story that we were all kind of mutually working towards in that roleplay server, and we actually started playing real Dungeons and Dragons with these characters. Gave them hard rules, and a couple of the sessions are up on the channel. I still have some audio that I could edit and post more episodes of, but at this current point in time, I'm no longer associated with two of the three, so I don't care. I don't like them. Due to stuff that's gonna travel later. Be expanded upon later, I should say. We all did multiple meetups. The first time, me, Emma, and Lavender hung out together in the meet space was for uh, the Georgia Renaissance Festival, where we actually met Captain Marlowe and crew. And we kind of immediately all discovered these guys are kind of cunts.
All right then. I'm listening.
Like, they didn't give a shit that we're active people in the community and that we're all hanging out together and we want to, like, film TikToks together and collaborate. They were there for their own ends and means, and really, we were just kind of there to help split the Airbnb we were all renting together. We were just bodies. And you know what? That's fine. That's cool. Just, I don't know. It left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. And then we hung out together. This was shortly after the event that we called The Happening, which was when Lavender was kicked out of Marlowe's crew. And so it was me, Emma, Lavender, and Louise. We all hung out in the meet space by going over to Colorado where Louise lived. And we went camping in the mountains. And some things happened up in the mountains,
How are you?
which I guess pretty much eternally painted like their perception of me, which is fine. I don't really give a shit currently, but at the time I was devastated, and it really kind of put me at a low point in life. Still am, but a different low point, I guess. And the next time, it was just me, Lavender, and Louise hung out in Colorado again because Emma couldn't make it. She had prior, like, more important shit to deal with, which I don't blame her. She's really career focused and goal oriented, and sometimes you just don't have a weekend to break away from that. And that's awesome. Like, I still wish her the best to this day. She was my best friend during all of this. And next, me, Emma, and Lavender hung out at PAX Unplugged, and that was fun. Got to meet a lot of cool people in the like Dungeons and Dragons sphere of influence. Kind of pretty much the four of us were trying to like break away from just cosplay TikTok and do actual collaborations and get the ball rolling and have some semblance of a career out of it. Like Lavender wanted to start doing modeling, and that's awesome. Not that she ever will or did, but whatever. And of course, Emma, once again, more career focused. She actually knows how to network. She's been in these groups for a significant period of time. So she's the only one that actually knows how to people properly. And I'm just there. I don't mind just being a body to float around with other people. I do it for the experience. Um, but after PAX Unplugged was probably the worst decision of my fucking life. So Lavender had a pretty much a relatively good home life, but she's a princess and deserves to be treated as such. And so she wanted to move out from Georgia, where she actively was living. And I was also working towards moving out of Florida because I've lived here for 30 years. I need a different change of space. And the couple of times that we've gone camping in Colorado, we're like, this place is awesome. We've got mountains, we've got snow. It's different from the fucking Atlantic Southeast. So the two of us worked together and we were going to move out, move in together, get an apartment. And we're like, yeah, we're going to film all the time with the two of us now that we're in the same space. And we actually ended up getting an apartment together, like right down the road from Louise's place. And we're like, yeah, all three of us are going to hang out all the time and do all the filming. And shit's great in theory. Actually working together and collaborating and making that dream happen is the hard part. Because I was working for Jabil Defense and Aerospace at the time. Because they have a factory in St. Petersburg, and I think I worked there for like 4 or 5 years. I'm just rambling now. But Jabil also had a factory where we moved to, which is Grand Junction. And so Lavender got her job switched because she was a barista at Starbucks. So there's Starbucks everywhere in this fucking country. So getting your job transferred is no problem. And so I left my position I had at the St. Petersburg branch of Jabil and was applying for the Jabil that's in Grand Junction. Except come to find out when we're actually there that the Jabil factory in Grand Junction was not Jabil Defense and Aerospace. It was it was still the same company, but it wasn't the same branch. So even though I worked for this company for 4 or 5 years, when I applied a job at that specific Jabil, they were like, "No, we don't want you." And of course, they never actually sent me the "No, we don't want you" email until like 5 months after I'd already moved to Grand Junction. And so I was functionally jobless for 3 fucking months. Which was one of the biggest hang-ups of the whole move to Colorado. And I feel like I kind of got off topic. I started just describing what I've been up to instead of the character that I'm supposed to be role-playing as. But needless to say, the Colorado move was awful. I lived there for 9 months, every fucking day being a struggle. Like, I was no longer stressy depressy. I was stressy depressy maybe the first couple of weeks of being there, but every day postpartum of being there, I was actively fucking suicidal. It's one of those things where I'm never going to actually act upon it because I already have before, and once you fail something 3 times, you just give up. But I remember actively getting angry because a driver almost ran me over. And it's not the ran over part that irritated me and made me angry, it was the almost part. It's like, fucking commit. God damn it. And so, living for a shitty job, because not only was the job awful, because I did end up getting a job while in Colorado. It wasn't the greatest, it wasn't the most prestigious thing, but it was something. Like, any amount of income coming in is better than being forced to sell plasma, which I did, and that caused a lot of significant side effects. But working double the hours I was over at Jabil Defense and Aerospace, and for pretty much half the paycheck, took a lot out of me. And what else is there to add on to that? Needless to say, a whole bunch of shit was piling up. I was not in a good space. I was not in a good mood ever. The only thing I had to look forward to was every 2 weeks when I got a paycheck, I'd set aside like $20 and get myself a Subway sandwich. And it's not the fact that I like Subway, it's the fact that that was the only fucking thing I had to look forward to living in this shithole that I realized this needs to fucking change. I can't keep doing this. And then my roommate, who is supposed to be, you know, your best friend, your compadre, your fucking bandito brother, she continuously, repeatedly, fucking called me out in a public, like, in a public forum. Not in a private message, oh no. Because she only spoke to me on her time. But called me out and pretty much saying, like, I find it funny that you think it's acceptable to eat food with plastic silverware, but I'm significantly haughtier and mightier than that.
Yes.
So,
Anvil is all in up.
I'm just bitching at this point. I don't even know where that tangent was going. Pretty much, she became a colossal bitch. That's where that was going. She just ended up being a huge fucking sandbag of a human being. And I had decided, I'm done. I'm done with this place. I have nothing to look forward to. And the only time that I ever hang out with Lavender or Louise is when they want to smoke fucking pot. And guess what? I don't like pot. I never have. It's not interesting to me. It's a fucking waste of money. I'd rather buy Pokemon cards, because then you at least have something physical you can hold in your hand that you exchange money for. And it also doesn't help that Lavender and Louise are
Greetings to you.
gargantuan potheads. Fucking junkies. And they need to constantly have their fix. Because in case you didn't know, Colorado is a recreational use state. So you could just literally walk down the road to a dispensary and purchase pot. If you're inclined to that sort of thing.
Speak.
So yeah, that's the only thing that they ever did for fun. And maybe once in a while we'd get together and play board games. Are you gone? No, he's still there. And it's like, yeah, the scenery is nice, and the the weather is actually bearable
Hello.
most months out of the year, unlike Florida, where it's unbearable all months out of the year.
You have my ear, citizen.
Like, there was nothing keeping me there. I had abandoned my entire friends and family to make this move with these people. I had no money to speak of. Because thank God the fucking apartment that we got was cheap. That way I only had to spend one whole paycheck directly to rent instead of more than. I got one paycheck a month, and all of this money is going straight to
You're
food
off duty now.
because I pretty much had to starve myself most days. I actually discovered what hunger pangs are like. Remember that Subway sandwich I said I looked forward to? I think I looked forward to it not because it was a Subway sandwich, but because I was like, oh my god, I can eat something. The agony that is spread throughout my entire being is gone for the rest of the day because I had the sandwich. Fucking Christ.
Speak.
So I covered up my move back to Florida,
Go take your
which,
break.
first thing,
It's about time.
pretty much when I moved to Colorado, all I had to my name was a carry on luggage bag and a backpack. That was it. That's all I had to myself. Louise was kind enough to provide me a pillow and blanket that they had spare. So I pretty much just slept on the floor of my apartment room for 9 months. Which, not the worst, but I'm just trying to paint a picture for you guys. You can, hopefully, you can understand my frustration of when Lavender is like, you don't do anything. And it's like, you condescending cunt. Like, I am actively struggling every fucking day of my existence, and you think I'm doing this for fun? Like, choke on your chopped off dick. I I was so fed up. I was just fucking done. But serendipitously, um, my parents had shot me a message
You
and was
have my
like,
ear, citizen.
um, when are you gonna come back and visit us? Because I had been gone for over half the year at this point. And I was like, I'm probably gonna only be able to visit you guys once out of the year. And they were trying to figure out whether it was gonna be Christmas or Thanksgiving. And my family never fucking celebrates Christmas. So obviously Thanksgiving was the time to do it. Also because at this point I was so fucking hungry, the concept of a holiday
Greetings.
based around engorging yourself on food sounded phenomenal to me. And so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go back to
Greetings to
Florida and
you.
visit my parents on Thanksgiving. To which Lavender, because she had her head so far up her ass she could look out her own teeth, had no idea that I was leaving because I had absolutely no furniture to my name. There was nothing in the apartment that was mine that wasn't already in a carry on
You have
luggage
my
or a
ear,
backpack.
citizen.
So I packed up my shit and left. I went on the plane to go visit my family for Thanksgiving and with zero intention of coming back.